and welcome back to the Stop Mandated Shunning channel. Today I have a special guest with me, Miriam Rincon. Hi, Miriam.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing okay.
So you were one of the first people to answer our request for stories about experiencing mandated shunning. And I was so impressed with your courage. Thank you so much. And when I read your story, there were 2 times in your life noticeably where shunning affected you and your family. Can you tell me about how it has affected you recently?
Well, it happened like about 2 years ago, when like a friend of mine, we were watching, a coworker had told me about this documentary on HBO about this religion in Mexico, and just kind of watched that, and then didn't really like the ending of it. And then I went to a friend and I told her, I was like, oh, you know what? I'm just so glad us Jehovah's Witnesses were not like that, because it had a lot to do with sexual abuse. And when I told one of my friends that, oh, I'm so glad we're not like that, and she's like, actually, and I was like, wait, what? And then I kind of just went down a rabbit hole, really investigating more, and then came across that Australian video. And then that just kept making me dig a little bit more, and then just saw a lot of contradictions with the religion. And when all of that started to happen, something else privately happened within my family, that I kind of don't want to get into, but it kind of meshed in with that. So when the other private thing happened with my family, it kind of made me see what the whole religion was like. And just everything just started to come crashing down. So I wrote my mom this huge long letter, how I felt with the things that with my family, and then how it attached to the religion, and how, my whole life was a lie, and how she has been lied to also. But mainly, my entire life, my brothers and I, or my siblings, it's just all a lie. And when I tried to tell her that, she told the elders, and because of the place where I lived at the moment was behind a small studio apartment of the main house, which belonged to, of course, some Jehovah's Witness also. When they found out, they started asking me, but he was mainly saying that because they have come to realize that I no longer feel the same way about the religion, that I'm going to have to find somewhere else to live. Thankfully, my daughter recorded practically the entire conversation, and he just sounds so ridiculous of the way he's attacking me and my daughter, and about questioning my beliefs and saying that I owe my duty is to Jehovah God, and I need to obey him, and because of where we live, that we might possibly need to find somewhere else to live. And my daughter, she stepped up and was, she became more mama bear, because she was not about to let somebody attack me. And she was questioning him, you have no right to kick us out. You have no right to tell us we got to get out of here. And then just everything else kind of crumbled down into that. I had previously also questioned my uncle, who was an elder, about a situation that happened with me when I was 13 years old, and how dare the elders, give my mom this particular advice. And just questioning everything and everybody. And because I was questioning everything and everybody, I was being attacked because of questioning. But I kept thinking, but the Bible says, question everything that is being taught to you. Don't just simply blindly believe what is being taught. And little by little, I was losing friends. I lost a lot of my family, which are witnesses, and some of them that are not witnesses still don't even talk to me because of their family that are witnesses, which doesn't make any sense to me. But, it just kind of all trickled down, and we ended up having to find somewhere else to live.
Wow.
But yeah.
I'm so sorry about that and what you and your daughter both went through. What you are telling me about becoming homeless is very common when people are shunned. And it's religious discrimination. You can't really legitimately kick someone out of their home just because they no longer believe the same things as you do. So to be clear, your landlord was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but you were not excommunicated. You were not officially expelled. You just doubted, expressed your lack of belief.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who among the people that you are closest to, which situations were the most painful, those relationships that you lost?
My uncle, because whenever I was a kid, I remember at one time my dad was deported. And I remember him coming in, stepping in and, taking care of my siblings and I, the household, just the bills, feeding us and whatnot. He stepped in. I don't remember for how long. I just remember that that's what he did. And then whenever I have moved to Mexico for a year and I came back, I didn't want to move back in with my parents. So I had asked them, hey, can I move in with you guys? They allowed me to move in with them. And I had a lot of questions and I had a lot of doubts. And I would talk to my uncle, who's an elder, and I would ask him and I would question him stuff. And he was so kind, and him and my aunt were very kind and very loving, and they allowed me to ask these questions and to have these doubts. But it's like after I had more serious doubts, it was no longer okay to have those doubts and to have to be questioning that.
So your uncle was like a father to you.
Yeah.
And he was there for you when you needed him in other ways.
Yeah.
But the one thing that's not allowed or acceptable is for you to question your religious beliefs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tried so hard to not have that relationship broken, which is what a lot of people don't understand. We don't just... It's not us that don't want these relationships, that don't want to keep these relationships. Because I feel like for me, I fought so hard to not have these relationships broken, to not have this situation happen, because it's not fair. I had a friend years ago who got disfellowship, and when she got disfellowship, yes, it broke my heart, but I could not talk to her, And I
Good
just
for
always,
you. That's unique. That's very compassionate of you.
I honestly did not think that it was going to come to this extreme, because me and another friend would talk about it, and she would tell me, she would advise me, don't say anything to your mom, to where you live, because you would get kicked out. And I did not think that it would come to this point at all. I honestly did not think that it would. Exactly.
So you just want to be respected for no longer believing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And you're seeing that your family members only will return love if you return to the religion.
In their religion, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's crazy that I have found more love and compassion and empathy in those who are never been Jehovah's Witness at all.
Wow.
Just more love and compassion. And that's something that they speak of, that they are very loving and kind. I tell my husband, yes, for the most part, a lot of people, yes, they are. But in the whole religion, the whole organization, it's not. It's cruel. It's unfair, unloving. And like I said, I have found more love, compassion, and empathy in others that have never even heard of their religion before.
Wow.
Whenever my coworkers, whenever I would tell them, what was going on, what was happening, they were so loving and kind. And every once in a while, there would be a witness that would come in. And at the very beginning, I would be like triggered and I would be scared. And so they would literally shield me with their body and walk me all the way to the back, so that I would not have to be seen, or that they would not see me, because I did not want to talk to them. I did not want to see them.
And to be clear, it wasn't because you really didn't want a relationship with them. It was because you knew that they were going to reject you, that they would refuse to talk to you, and that just the thought of that was so intimidating and traumatic that you preferred to avoid it. Because that's one of the things in court that Jehovah's Witnesses their attorneys have claimed, that it's the people being shunned that don't want a relationship or that do the avoiding behavior. And oftentimes it's only because of knowing that you're going to be avoided, and how painful that is to just watch someone you love look at you and walk away or turn away. And so it's easier to avoid that, and not have that horrible experience.
And all those little whispers that you know they're talking about you, and to know and to see somebody off in the distance, it's just no.
I'd like to also talk about what happened to your husband, because much earlier in your life, when you were still very much a believer, the two of you were dating, planning on getting married, and he ended up being disfellowshipped. Can you talk to me a little bit about, first of all, how that happened? Because a lot of people don't understand how the religious leaders, how much they get involved in people's lives.
Well, we were dating for about 4 months. My mom kind of got in the middle of the relationship. So once she started to do that, we started to sneak around. And the sneaking around, just kind of one thing led to another. We ended up having relationships before we got married. And my mom found out. She made us go to the elders. I did not want to go. I was going to keep it a secret, and continue with the relationship and have a wedding and everything.
But that's not really allowed, is it? You can't keep your own personal business private.
No.
And you were pressured, and probably she would have reported you to the elders if you hadn't gone. So. And she made me go to them and tell them what happened. Of course, I had to tell him my mom found out. Now we got to go to the elders. And so he had his own judicial meeting. I had my own. We have never discussed, my husband and I, each other, to what that was like for each of us individually. I don't know that I ever want to. It's been 27 years. And how old were you at the time that the elders questioned you about intimate matters?
About 19. I think I had just turned 20.
Okay.
I had just turned 20. So just that alone, it made me feel so dirty and violated. The deep questionings, where did he touch you? Where did you touch him? And how did it make you feel? I thought, that's none of your damn business.
Right.
Like, why are you asking these very intimate, personal questions? And for me, it triggered an abuse. And so that just made me cringe.
Yeah.
And just thought, like, how dare you? It made me feel like that 13-year-old again. And like, this was something that was my fault, that I did something terribly wrong. And just thinking back now about that's how it made me feel. Like I was a filthy person.
It's just so inappropriate. I don't even know how to describe that. It's really unbelievable that these men would think they had the right to ask those type of questions. Again, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, and then the triggering of prior abuse too, which I would think would be common for women in the circumstance if they had a history with that. So then when your husband was excommunicated, and I believe he still is, he was never
Nope.
accepted back into the congregation. The claim is that they don't use the term blackmail, but they basically admit that the whole point of shunning people is to force them to, out of missing their family and friends, return to the religion. Obviously didn't work, has not worked. In your husband's case, this was 20 some years ago. But how did it affect your view, since you were still a believer? How did it affect your view of your husband?
The relationship itself, I can tell it was very different. We couldn't talk about spiritual things. I couldn't bring them up with him. When it came to our kids, he was supposed to be the head of the household. And I always felt, and like my mom was a single mom spiritually. Even though I always had my dad, I felt like I was repeating this pattern, like my mom. I'm again the spiritual head, so I have to take care of the family. So that, I feel like that put a strain on our relationship, because I had to be the one.
The religion treats whoever is disfellowshipped, excommunicated, as if they're dead. So they compare it to being a single parent, even though your husband was right there all along. But the idea is, if they expel you from the religion, you're as good as dead. People should view you as dead, including your family and friends. So you are telling me it made you, because of the teachings surrounding the shunning, it made you feel like you were a single mom, in a lot of ways, and made you not have the same respect for your husband. So you talked to me a little bit about how it affected your daughters. Can you tell me that? Because obviously, if no one is talking to your husband, but he's living with you, that could create some difficulties.
Oh, yeah. They couldn't, at the time when they were young, they couldn't understand and comprehend why, when they would have some of their friends over, they had one that was in the same grade as them. So she would come over. And as soon as he started to come home, or when it got closer for him to come home, I would tell him, okay, we got to call your mom. She's got to come pick you up. Or I would let the parent know, hey, my husband comes home during this time. So if you can please come pick up your child. But it was weird and awkward for them that their friends had to leave. And at the meetings, I remember one time my younger daughter, she would see their friends, from the congregation, with mom and dad there together, and like, how come dad doesn't come to the meetings? And I don't want to come to the meetings if dad doesn't come. And I was like, well, you're my responsibility, and your dad is not doing his job taking care of you in this aspect. It's my responsibility. So I don't care that you don't want to come and you want to stay home with dad. No, you're coming with me. And so, looking back now, I feel like they maybe kind of resented me a little bit in that aspect also. Like, well, I don't want to come here, and it's, all of my friends here with their dad, mom and dad together, and my dad's at home, and I would rather be with my dad.
Yeah, so they felt left out. They felt like they didn't fit in with their friends at the congregation.
No.
I imagine your husband simply didn't want to go through the embarrassment of attending the meetings where no one would talk to him. So he avoided that situation because it would have been so embarrassing. So there was no way for you to be friends with others as a family. They were making you choose between them and your husband.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I know that they saw it strange for them that, why isn't dad here? Why isn't dad coming? And I didn't know how to explain it to them at the moment, because, they were little, and, they want to know what he did wrong. I'm just like, you're
he
too
fell
little
in love
to know.
with me.
Like, it's a long story. We'll talk about it when you get older.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely.
This policy of shunning, the religion does this to force people to stay or get them back, but how did it affect your daughters, the fact that this religion uses this shunning policy?
Well, it affected more my younger daughter. She would see how I would cry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. She would just see how hurt this made me. Losing people in life, and sometimes people don't understand what that means. But it just means that people see you as, like you said, you no longer exist in the world. They see you literally standing right in front of you, but they have to pretend as if you no longer exist in the world. And that is just the most hurtful thing.
Right. It's not just this casual, oh, we don't have as much in common, so we just aren't quite as close as we were before. It's very dramatic, and people literally treat you like you're contagious, like you're dead, like you don't exist. Yeah. Incredibly psychologically damaging to be treated that way as a human.
Because I tell my husband, like, I don't understand how my mom can treat me like this. I already have a brother who passed away 16 years ago. I miss him so much. And I think, my mom, I can never see him. We can never see him again. And here I am. I'm right here. I'm right here. To have to experience something like that, I would not wish that on anybody.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you have been treated like that by your own mother, who you would think a mother who had literally lost a child in death would never choose to do this of their own initiative. And basically we know it's not, because she's doing what she's told she has to do. She's told this is what God expects of her. She's told this is the only way to save you, that she has to bring you back this way by treating you this way. So she's a victim as well. But that's very tragic. Miriam, I'm so grateful that you've been willing to share your story. The first person on our channel
You're welcome.
to be interviewed. You're incredibly courageous, and I'm incredibly grateful. Our whole team is, and I just like to let everyone know that if you have experienced shunning yourself or know someone who has, please support our effort to stop mandated shunning. You can see the website, right down below. Go to stopmandatedshunning.org. You can tell your story. You can participate in a research survey, or you can donate. We're doing a GoFundMe. We need to raise a total of about $300,000 for a major 3-year research project with Roehampton University, and we would love your support in any way you can support us. So thank you so much, Miriam.
You're welcome.
I hope you can go and do something nice for yourself. Go take a bubble bath, drink some tea, and we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.